Are you also wondering how all of these ICT traders are catching the top and the bottom of these ranges? Well, worry no further, because in this video, I'm going to be showing you exactly how you can utilize the ICT turtle soup to catch the bottom and the top of the ranges. But before we get into the video, let's make sure everybody understands exactly what an ICT turtle soup is. So if we go ahead and look at my iPad as of right now, this right here will be buy side liquidity, and an ICT turtle soup is when price does this and then dumps, right? But in this video, I'm going to be telling you how we can know before it happens whether this is going to happen or this is going to happen, right? Because this right here is definitely not an ICT turtle soup. In the first example, we took the liquidity resting above the highs and then we dumped down lower. In the second example, we took the liquidity but continued to displace higher. So let's go ahead and jump straight onto the charts and let me show you exactly what I'm looking for when I am looking for liquidity sweeps. Okay, here we are on the E-mini NASDAQ 100. And this is the first example that I'm going to be given. So as you might see, we are starting this on the 1 hour time frame. Now I am only trading turtle soups on a lower time frame, well mainly, but this is a prime example of a perfect turtle soup. Now let me show you exactly what it is that I'm talking about. So right here, we have what we would call an imbalance or a fair value gap. Now, if we take a look at what happened previously, we can see that we have a swing low here or a low hanging fruit where we swept liquidity, right? We then failed to displace higher after sweeping liquidity, and this is key, okay? Right, we come up, no real displacement, we consolidate for a while, and then we get this displacement candle to the downside. Now, notice how none of these highs has hit the fair value gap yet. That is one of the best examples for a turtle soup, right? We have this high here right before the actual fair value gap. So what I would do then is scale into a lower time frame. Then I would find that high. In this case, that would be this high here. This gap is the 1 hour gap, and that would be my turtle soup high. Now, a lot of confusion occurs when it comes to placing your stop loss using just the liquidity sweep. And what I usually do is I try to make it as small as possible. Now, you still want to give it some breathing room, but this trading strategy is anticipating liquidity sweeps. And if we go too far above the high that we are anticipating to be turtle soup, that is no longer a turtle soup and our idea is invalidated, right? So in this case, I would probably use this swing high here as my stop, because if we come up here, that kind of invalidates the original turtle soup that I entered off of. So let's see exactly what happens. And there we go. Now it took a little while, but as you can see, we have the high right before the hourly fair value gap. And that is exactly what I anticipate to be turtle soup. And this is kind of a way to trade higher time frame gaps on a lower time frame, right? Because some of us don't want to sit in trades for 18 hours or 5 hours or 4 hours. Some of us just want to get in and out quickly, right? And I know this one took a while, but you could have taken your profits way earlier. Say you had taken it here, it wouldn't have taken that long, right? But the only thing I want you to take away from this is highs that are resting right below higher time frame gaps, right? And you want to combine it with the overall order flow. Are we bearish? Are we bullish, right? You want to combine it with the higher time frame drawn liquidity. Now, this next example is also a really good way to anticipate turtle soups. Now we are on a 15-minute time frame, which if you are using a 2-minute or 3-minute time frame is also considered a high time frame. So what do we have here? We have a 15-minute gap that was hit right here and then rallied higher. This low was the first low which hit the higher time frame gap, right? These lows are great, or highs are great, is a great way to anticipate turtle soup, right? But it is important that this low did not hit the constant encroachment, which is the 50% level of the fair value gap, or fill it. So let's say the candle had looked like this. We would no longer anticipate this to be a valid turtle soup because it filled the candle and created an intermediate term low. So now all we do is wait for price to come back down into this fair value gap, sweep this low, and then continue higher. So we will place our entry off of this low. We will put our stop, the body's low here, and then we'll target the previous swing high, which is here. as you can see, okay, this was a very, very fast trade, but again, it acted as turtle soup, right? Because it was the first low which hit a gap, and it was a low that did not hit the constant encroachment or fill it. So now what this candle does is come all the way down here to rebalance this fair value gap, which this candle failed to rebalance, right? Now this candle created an intermediate term low instead of this one, and the reason why this candle had to come down here is because it needed to rebalance what this candle failed to rebalance. And that is why it is such a great method to anticipate turtle soups with. Now right here we have another great example of exactly what I just told you. We have a fair value gap with a low that did not hit the constant encroachment and did not fill it. We have 15-minute bullish order flow, right? So if this low gets swept, I can anticipate that to be turtle soup. So what I want to wait for now is this low to be swept. So I will put my entry at the constant encroachment of this gap, which is a little bit below the wick here. Put my stop at the mean threshold of this order block, and then go for a 1 to 2. And then let's play it out. There we go, extremely beautiful. At first, the very next candle, we created equal lows. Then we failed to take out those equal lows, and this candle finally took out those equal lows, hit the constant encroachment of the gap, and then rallied higher. But the most important part of this whole example is that this low was the first low that hit the gap, and that first low failed to rebalance to the constant encroachment, and it also failed to rebalance the whole gap. Now right here we have a great example of one of the examples that I showed you. We have obvious bearish order flow. Now we're getting that pullback, and what do we have? We have a swing high right below a higher time frame bearish fair value gap, right? So what I want to do is either place it on the 15-minute time frame, or jump to a lower time frame like the 5-minute, and then place my entry off of that 5-minute high. So I will enter off of the high, put my stop at a reasonable place, and then go for either the lows or a 1 to 2. In this case, we're going to target this sell side liquidity resting down here. And again, the reason why I am anticipating this to be turtle soup is because it is a high that is resting right below a higher time frame bearish fair value gap. So let's play it out and see what happens. We come up and we get filled. We sweep the high, we hit the higher time frame gap, and then we drop like crazy, right? Now this will happen on a daily basis, and it is the easiest way to anticipate turtle soups, and it is something that I do on a daily basis because, as you can see, I'm catching the top of the range, and I'm also catching the bottom of the range. And that is why turtle soups are just one of the best strategies for trading, because you can catch these whole moves, right? Say you were waiting for a retest of one of these fair value gaps, you would have never gotten filled here, right? But because we are entering off of the liquidity sweep, we are getting the best possible entry here. Now, a lot of people will consider the turtle soup a risky strategy because of a lack of confluence, or a lot of people like to see some volume to the downside at their key level. So let's say their key level is this fair value gap. They want to see a reaction on a lower time frame of that higher time frame fair value gap before they put their entry, right? But that will often give you a much worse entry than if you just entered off of the liquidity sweep. I would even go as far and say that once you master the turtle soup, it is probably one of the best, if not the best, ICT strategy out there. You can maintain a very high win rate, and you can catch the bottom and the top of ranges, but it takes a long time to really figure out the turtle soup. But once you get it down, it becomes unstoppable. Now let me show you something else, right? We are on a 15-minute time frame, and we have this very big 15-minute imbalance, right? Now we have a high inside of this gap that successfully rebalanced to the equilibrium of that gap, right? But it still failed to fill it. So whenever we sweep this high, I am still counting this as a valid turtle soup. Now, typically in such big gaps like this was definitely, right, we had 8:30 news, which is what caused this huge imbalance. Right? I would not really do it when the imbalance is this big, but as you can see, we did get a pullback off of this high. And now a lot of people will say, well, this was not good enough to capitalize off of, right? But that is just completely wrong, because let's say we go to a 2-minute time frame, and then we have that marked high, which is this high here, and that would have been our entry. We would have put our stop at a reasonable level and then gone for opposite liquidity, which will be right here, and then played it out, and it would have worked, right? So you can find these highs on a higher time frame and then scale down to a lower time frame to look for your entry, because even though the order flow was bullish, we still did get a reaction on the higher time frame of that high. And if we were trading the lower time frame, we would have easily been able to capitalize off of that turtle soup, even though it was only a small pullback on the higher time frame. And that was basically it for this video. I asked on Twitter if you boys wanted a tutorial or a video on the ICT turtle soup, because I have been posting a lot of turtle soup executions on Twitter, because people of course want to learn how to catch the top and bottom of ranges. Now I have a lot more regarding the turtle soup, right? I've traded it for a long time, and I've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours back testing it, forward testing it, and just really getting to know exactly how these are booked. But this was basically the basics of turtle soup, and honestly, all you need to know to have a profitable strategy. Now, of course, you will need to trade this for a longer period of time to refine it and really understand which setups to take and which setups not to take. But this is the foundation of the ICT turtle soup. If you ask me, you cannot just be shorting every high that gets taken out and longing every low that gets taken out, right? It has to be refined highs and lows and not just random ones, right? So I hope this video helped someone out there. And I myself have an extremely high win rate when I'm patient with my turtle soup, right? Because I can also get impatient and take low quality setups. But if I really sit there and wait, this probably has a 90% win rate, and it rarely fails. And if it fails, you will be able to tell quite quickly that it is failing, right? Because a turtle soup wants to really, you want to see it react off of that low really fast. You don't want to get multiple candle closures below that low or above that high, because then it is not a turtle soup any longer, right? We want to see, ideally, we want to see a wick above and then a candle closure below, and then we keep running lower, right? We really don't want to see any candle closures above. Now, sometimes that can happen where we get a candle closure above and then an immediate reaction to the downside, but we definitely don't want to see consecutive candle closures above the high or low that we are anticipating to be turtle soup. So a lot of the times you can actually cut your losses short, because it is so easy to tell apart the good turtle soups and the bad turtle soups. So I hope this video helped someone out. And if you're struggling with these turtle soup, I completely understand. It is extremely hard, but once you get it down, it's so profitable. And I apologize for being so absent. I finally recovered properly from my surgery, so I will be uploading consistently again. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video.